Now, another useful feature in Power Query is what they call parameter queries. If you're working with large data sets, as you most likely are, it's a good practice to actually narrow down the volume of records you're working with. It improves the performance and the efficiencies. And so parameter queries help you narrow that volume of records down to what's relevant. If you are going to use parameter queries, you must first of all go to View and ensure that under parameters or above parameters that this option here, always allow, is ticked. Once you tick it, that will stay on, so that's pretty good. But having done that, I now want to go to, say, my orders query, where I have a column which is the order date, and notice that the data type is date. So now on the Home tab, there is actually the ability to create parameter queries. And so click Manage Parameters is a button here. If you click Manage Parameters and you choose New Parameter, you're able to then in this window give that parameter a name. So I'm going to call it My Date Parameter. And I'll put a description. This reduces the volume of records I see by date. Don't say order date, just date. Now the data type is a date, and that's the type of, and we can put a value in. So I'm going to go the 13th of the 9th, 1994. And so I'll go OK to that. So I've made a parameter, which I can now manage down here at the bottom of my queries list and change the value if I want to. I can go back into Manage Parameter here, but I'll cancel. So I've made a parameter. So how do you actually use that parameter now? What we need to now do is actually do a filter. So I'll go back to orders, I'll go to order date and hit the drop down, I'll go to date filters and I'll go to custom filter, date filters, custom filter. And I'm after those records that is after, and I'm going to hit the drop down and I'm going to choose a parameter, and I've only got the one. It was my date parameter that I made. So when I go OK, instead of seeing 830 rows, which is what the bottom left of my screen is saying, I will only see those records that are after the 13th of the 9th, 1994. And so that's narrowed it down to 798 rows that I'm now working with. Now, if I thought, oh no, look, I just really want to see those records after the 1st of the 1st, 1996, then I'll go back to my date parameter and I'll change the date. After the 1st of the 1st, 96. And as soon as I go back to orders, because that filter is still working on that particular query, I am now filtered down to 317 rows. So it's just a way that you can easily narrow down the volume of records that you're working with, is by creating a parameter, and you can use that parameter pretty much on any column that you want to. You just have to go and say you want to filter and you want to do a custom filter and you want to use my date parameter, and then change it if you want the date to change. So that's the whole idea with parameter queries. And if I wanted to, I can go up to here and I can edit parameters, just so that you know that that's another way that you can edit it, though I just edited in there. You can go up here and manage them, so if you need to delete them or what have you, you can do. You can just hit this X and delete them, and you can create new ones and have as many parameters as you want. So that's the idea with parameter queries.